Well, it's 8 o'clock. I'll call to order the International Falls Koochiching County Airport Commission regular meeting, 27 August. It's 8 o'clock. First order of business, is there anybody here for public comment? Nobody speaking up. We'll go to the minutes of July 23rd.
Move to approve the minutes.
There's motion to approve.
Second.
And a second. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Right.
Opposed? Minutes are carried. Financial statement. That all-weather roof, Kyra, is that the final payment for the roofing project?
I'm waiting for confirmation back on that. That is only, that's the first payment that we've made to them, but on their invoice, they didn't have, there were two different POs on there, so I couldn't pay the top portion because I didn't know if that was actually for us or somebody else. So
Okay.
I was waiting for confirmation. So this is, the amount that's listed is a portion of what is due.
Okay.
I also have one other bill that came in, and Chelsea, do you maybe know, it's from McCoy in regards to the equipment purchase, but did we have to do a payout for that?
Yes, correct. So you can probably ignore that one until we have the pay application created.
Perfect.
Anything else, Kyra?
I think the all-weather roof was the only one that was out of the ordinary, so that would be it.
Okay. Anyone else have any questions? Is there a motion to approve the financials?
I'll make a motion.
There's a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Motion and second to approve the financials. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Financials are approved. Engineers report. Who's going first?
I'll start it off. Good morning, everyone. Chelsea is remote today, so thank you for joining, Chelsea. And we have Casey with us as well to talk through some of our items. The biggest impactful project we have right now is the general aviation reconstruction project. So if you haven't been out there, Chelsea has a slideshow. Hopefully she'll be able to share a screen here in a moment. Just to get a sense of what's going on out there. I know sometimes it's hard to get out on site or to see the progress that's going on, but a really productive month over the last 30 days since your last meeting. Maybe to preface that, even before the summer, the crosswind runway was reclaimed and then repaved, so that is complete. Right now we're using that as a temporary storage area for aircraft as we're reconstructing the apron. I guess it would be the northeast side of the apron has been reconstructed and paved, so that's looking nice. So we got some extra room out there. So we'll just cycle through a few photos just to kind of share the progress that we've been up to here. So next slide. So again, here's the paving that it described. So the green area, phase 1 is complete. All of that work was, completed maybe about 4 to 6 weeks ago. We are now in phase 2, which is the purple shaded area. Notably, one of the big items that we had there was removing the fuel tanks. So that was part of that project. And then we are anticipating the paving of phase 2 here. I would think September 9th is what I heard just recently. And then pavement markings to follow that. So this is runway 422. You can see the reclaimed base graded and then new fresh pavement on top. So all of that work is complete. It looks nice out there. We're not painting the runway markings. We're going to do it all at the end. Asphalt pavement usually takes 30 days to make sure the oils and the paint don't react. And we had the runway closed regardless, so that'll all be reopened here once the project is complete. This is the northern portion of the apron, new asphalt, so that all is paved, and you can kind of see that new fuel system off to the right there on the picture on the right. So we've matched into that. The old fuel tanks came out, and that was actually, I think one of the design teams and construction teams' concerns. Just with fuel tanks in the ground, you don't know what you're going to find. We didn't find any contamination, so we were able to remove those old tanks, rubblize the existing pads. The tanks were hauled away, and you go out there now, it doesn't even look like they were there, so it looks a lot different. Concrete paving, so one design change that we have for this project is putting all the tie downs in concrete. So you can see the little box outs for tie downs. And then this is where the aircraft will park. So this is mostly complete. That's actually the work that's happening this morning. They're concrete paving some fill-in lanes as they pour those. So we're hoping the weather holds off here. Looks like it's moving to the north, but. And then, like I mentioned, anticipating paving for September 9th or approximately thereabouts. So the base prep is a really just solid base. We've tested that with Braun Intertech, our sub-consultant, to help assure that the densities are all met. We also installed drain tile throughout the GA apron, general irrigation apron, to help some of the subsurface drainage, and the soils are really conducive. You want to get that water out of there to help any heaving and different frost protection and things that we want to do. And that is it. So hopefully it gives you a sense of where we're at on the construction. Chelsea, do you know the approximate completion date that we're tracking?
Yeah, I think it's September 14th or 12th, somewhere in there, that week sometime.
So once it's paved, there'll be a little bit of restoration, pavement marking, and then the FBO Thor will be back in business. So get everything back to normal. So things appear to be going well.
Yeah.
One item that we have is the pay application. And Kyra, I should have mentioned this during the bills. I don't know, was this included in the pay that they approved? KGMs?
Yep.
And was the amount?
The updated.
The updated amount?
Yes.
Perfect, okay, so we're all set there. And then, Chelsea, maybe just a quick update on the bonding packet. I see it's out for signature.
Yeah, so I think we have compiled everything for the new packet, and I think Kyra sent the signatures to you, or the signature requests to you, so you can get the signatures from the county and the city for those.
Yep, the county.
Do you have that?
The county approved it yesterday to sign, so
Great.
I will send that out for signatures today.
Great, thanks, Kyra.
And that is the good news story for this whole project, is that we were able to use the bond funds that cover the local share for the majority of this project. So the FA funded it, portions of the project at 95%, and for some areas the state funded 70%, and then we were able to use the bond funds for a good portion of the other funds. So definitely financially not as impactful as it could have been without that support. Any questions for Chelsea or I on the apron reconstruction?
Well, just want to say, I think they had pretty good weather overall to really get down to business. I was out there when they were pulling the tanks.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're down there quite a ways. Make pretty big holes. So.
I was surprised there wasn't no contamination. That
Yep.
sounds
They
great.
pulled them tanks out and they looked like they were brand new, like they were stuck in the day before.
Yeah, I agree. They did.
One of them had infiltration, so water was going in it.
I know it had some issues, but I didn't know if
Yeah.
it has infiltration. Usually it has
Yeah.
out too, but that's great. That's good to hear.
Yeah, we had Braun do the testing, so they had the readers all around there testing the soil, and so that's good news. That would have been a little bit of a headache, but we had planned for it. But nice that we didn't have to do it.
Big cost saved right there.
Yeah.
Well, if there's no further questions on the apron reconstruction, going to the equipment acquisition. So we do have an invoice from McCoy that we'll prepare for next meeting. Other than that, the loader is received, just waiting for a few more remaining attachments. They'll be shipped this week. And then the ice equipment, so this is the aircraft one, so that's the one, so that's with GSS right now, and they're just receiving kind of final parts and preparing for delivery just in time for season. It's getting cold out there already, so be here just in time.
Did we get our plow?
Could be de-icing anytime now.
And this is the pickup truck?
No, for the bed one on the loader. Did that come ready too? Or did I miss that?
Sorry, I couldn't hear that. What?
Is the plow for the loader?
So I believe that is expected to be shipped this week. They have everything else, but the plow is at the McCoy yard.
Okay, good.
Very good.
Yep.
So the equipment is en route, so just in time and kind of working through those elements. Yeah, we have another update on another piece of equipment I'll cover later. So moving on to transient hangar update. So this is a project that we've briefed several times in the past. Maybe I'll just kind of lay out the path to doing the hangar. And then we'll talk about some of the challenges that we have to move forward with it. So the hangar has been kind of envisioned by this group and put on the CIP for large aircraft potentially positioned either on the GA General Aviation apron or somewhere else that's suitable on the airport. The FAA has provided through the infrastructure bill infrastructure money that actually makes this hangar eligible. Typically, hangars at International Falls would not be eligible, but with the infrastructure bill that is nearing its last year, that hangar is eligible since it produces revenue. That's kind of the big change. So obviously a good infrastructure improvement for the airport, but it's not without its cost. Our estimates are between 4, 5, 6 million, somewhere in there, depending on all the bells and whistles that you put on the hangar and how big it is. And I know we've done some schematics to kind of place that. So that's kind of where we're at. The infrastructure money will expire. So I think if the commission elects to move forward with the project, design will need to be initiated yet this fall. And probably bid next spring and then get that underway. So a few things have to happen before we can go into, before the FAA would consider a design proposal. And we've discussed this to some degree as the Einerson lease. So there is lease agreements throughout that footprint. And Casey and I were chatting yesterday, and Casey completed the building area master plan a couple of years ago, 2 years. And some of the leases, with the fuel system being removed, I believe that was under the Einerson lease, but now that's been removed. And then we have the new fuel system, and then we have some other areas that could have the lease revised to that would make it beneficial for both the Airport Commission and for the Einerson's FBO. So as it is today, we can't put a hangar on an FBO lease because it's an airport-owned facility. So, without making sure that the Airport Commission cleans up the lease agreements, then the design could begin. The second portion is that the FAA requires competition for the hangar. So even though the Airport Commission will own the hangar, they need to make sure that the Airport Commission isn't just building it for someone. They want to be able to have some sort of competition to say, we want to accept proposals for what this space or what this building could be used for. So you'd have to go through what they call an RFQ process to accept proposals. And we've actually discussed this a few months back and kind of tabled it for a while. And I believe Kyra actually has an RFQ that's mostly done, would just need to be reviewed. So did I miss anything, Casey? Just as we're kind of embarking on this design project.
How much would the city and the county be on the hook for? Is this like 5% that?
This would be 95% funded for eligible spaces by FAA, and then 5% local, but MnDOT would do 2.5. So it would be 2.5 MnDOT, and then 2.5 local, and then we break that down into the city and the county.
And then there are sometimes FAA ineligible, I'm going to say bells and whistles that airports sometimes want to put into a hangar that the FAA won't pay for. And sometimes MnDOT then can come to the table and fund the FAA ineligible pieces, and that is a lower funding rate, often 70%, so you'd have 30%, but better than 100% local if there's an ineligible item that you would like in the hangar.
And I'll share just one risk with the project. The cost of hangars has increased on airports, especially the location of International Falls. I haven't checked into the building prices, what it would be for a government type funded project in this area yet. But typically we're seeing hangar or airport projects be more expensive. And with this funding source, you only have so much. So if the bids are high or the bids are, we end up spending more money than you have in your grant balance, there isn't another funding source unless MnDOT were to contribute, which we would need to coordinate and require. So I think through the design process, I think just being really conservative on, the structure that's being built with the money that we have and developing a program to make sure that we're, on that number because everything else, if it's not MnDOT funded would be 100% local and that could get expensive in a hurry.
What's the wishes of the board? Go ahead.
I just have one question. I think before we even look at a transient hangar, we gotta look at our infrastructure and our access to that hangar before we even look at it. And I'm sure they're gonna want sewer and water in there, correct?
Yeah, I think depending on where it goes, and again, I think it gets into the scoping and kind of back to the bells and whistles. I mean, it can just be a simple heated storage unit. It could also be, it could have, inboard drains and plumbing and all the things that come with it, but it will need utilities to some degree. I think you can get, code-wise, you can get without restrooms and things. You can need to go through some waiver process on that, given the location of the FBO next to it.
But I think Kyra had mentioned here just last summer when she was at this meeting that the FAA will put in sewer and water into this because they feel like it's a revenue generating project too. So if they'll put the sewer and water in for us, then all we gotta do is annex it then, before we do that. It's gotta be done before anything.
And this is sewer and water to the hangar facility?
That's what Kyra had mentioned, yeah. Because they were asking for sewer and water over here. You came back from a meeting and said that it was a revenue generating fund or project and that FAA would take part of it.
There was something at that meeting that they had mentioned that FAA would pay for a portion of it, but I don't recall if it was for transient or if it were for other hangars or what.
It was for hangars anyway, is what you had mentioned and all that. But that's something we gotta look into too, before we start even thinking about a hangar.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think, if there's utilities that go to an airport-owned building, sometimes that can be FAA eligible. I think kind of back to, Sean's earlier point, you only have so many dollars. So, if you have, and I'm just using an example, round numbers, 4 million, and to do the utilities and do all the things, it's 6 million. There is no other funding source for that 2 million. So we do have to make a project that fits with what the money is, which, I think is one challenge we have with this funding source, because it is very, limited in what you have. The hangar site that potentially could be available over on the general aviation apron. I don't know that there would need to be any utility extensions to serve that hangar location. So that one, wouldn't need that extra improvement. So I think as, you look at, your different site options, there are 2 hangar sites over on the existing general aviation kind of taxi lanes. There's one on the far side. There's 2 sites that are buildable. That might, I don't remember where, so are there utilities down the way you're saying there?
I think so.
So I don't know that they'd have to go very far, but I think, as you think of the function and, you look at the entities that might be interested in leasing this type of hangar, if they're using it for transient larger aircraft, tugging them onto the active taxiway to move them to a hangar, typically that type, you're moving stuff in and out, as big aircraft are coming and going. And often you see that function more on a larger apron rather than embedded in a taxi lane development.
So I think,
And if I understand it, if we were gonna put it here on the apron, we have to do some work with the lease agreement
correct.
to even think about it, so. Now, if the other sites that you talked about, Casey, would that require working out the lease with Heinerson?
I don't think so, no, I think they're just open areas.
Is there any chance of putting it on this end of the building if we vacate that airport road?
That was our second part of the discussion. So maybe before we jump into the vacation of the road, because I know that's something you've wanted to discuss, and that's actually Casey's expertise. So she'll share just some things to think about as we look at that as an opportunity. Maybe back to the hangar specifically. There are maybe three things that kind of happen in parallel for your consideration. One is the lease. Generally, with the hangar, without the hangar, there could be an opportunity to revisit that. The person that did your economic study, they do that for a living, so there's an opportunity that the Airport Commission could reach out for a quote just to see what it would cost or what it would be to revisit that. That could be one recommendation. The second thing that needs to happen is the RFQ process, so preparing that for consideration at the next meeting. And then the third is actually, okay, what's our budget? What can we build? What are the three or four sites that this hangar could go? And then, providing that as part of the RFQ process. So by next meeting, there's a little bit more clarity on, what the schedule is and things are moving forward to either move forward or to table it.
All right. Yeah, I think there's a whole lot of work that's got to be done before we can make a decision. And if I hear you right, we're on our time crunch also, so.
Yeah, it's not urgent, but I think, these pieces all need to happen and they all, they could take long. Yeah, they could take longer than, anticipated, just, given the complexity of it.
I would like to know how much interest is in this with the airlines that are serving us here now. I mean, if we don't have anybody that's going to lease it or rent it or whatever, and they're not interested, it's no point in putting it up because it's just going to be a money pit. We got to know if the airlines want it, and we'll use it. I know last night or yesterday at the council, Tim Wagner was kind of speaking for the PCA, and it sounded like there would be some interest there from them. But I do think that that's an important thing before we even move forward. Do we have need for it? I mean, do we have renters for it?
Right, I agree.
That's the biggest thing right there. We got to have some way to fund this and to assure us that we're
Because
going to be
I'm sure it's
building
going to cost you
something.
some bucks to put it up.
So,
And hopefully, before you put it up,
and what is
you
the
know
lease?
that you're going to get some revenue from it.
And what's the lease going to be, or is it going to be
Right.
per time, or there's so many variables there on that I think that has to be figured
And
out before we do anything.
I think that's part of what you can learn through that RFP process, as you're asking entities you're gauging that interest and getting information on, what they would want in a hangar, what do they want to bring to the airport. And also on the financial side, you'll get some additional information from the potential respondents to that. Doing the RFP to gauge interest. I mean, you still haven't committed to doing the project.
But I think that's a good place where we need to start though to
Well,
find
that
out.
sounds like that's probably one of the first things we need to do is go
Right.
that RFP route and see what's going to happen from there.
Yeah, and then with the lease, showing the locations, I think we can word the RFP to say that, these are the sites and by a certain time we anticipate, the leases to be
Sure.
amended to make this more viable.
Yeah. Did you have something, Tara?
I just had a question in regards to the bill funding that's expiring. So if the commission doesn't go forward with the transient hangar, do we have projects in line to utilize that funding and not lose it?
Yes, yeah, I think with your list of projects that you have, the money won't go to waste. I think what you would miss is the opportunity to do a revenue generating hangar that has no other funding source for it. So, for instance, it could pay for equipment or, pavement repair, but those things are typically funded, with your normal funding sources. So that's maybe the opportunity that would be missed, is that it's a once in a, I don't want to say a lifetime, because there's who knows what politics is going to bring in funding sources. But it is a unique program that we've only had for the last 4 years.
Well, what do you think? We should go the RFP route, go from there, see what happens, and see what we have coming back next month?
It's necessary, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do we need a motion to do that, or can you just do that?
I don't think we need a motion.
Because we're not spending
We're
any
not
money,
spending
really, so.
dollars, it's just, well, the dollar, yeah, because the RFP would come before the next commission for approval, and then we would
Go
need a
from there.
motion to put that out.
Yeah, because at least then we know if there's interest between SkyWest, Amazon,
Right.
FedEx, UPS, whoever,
Yeah.
They all might want a piece of it and be,
Mm-hmm.
so.
And then maybe the second part of that, I don't think we need a motion for this either, but it's just coordinating a proposal to help with the lease discussions, and then we can work with Kyra on that
Sure.
and then that would come before the commission next month, and you guys can discuss that.
Oh, that'd be good too, yeah.
Yeah.
Get that squared away.
Those two ready,
Right on. Super.
then you can figure it out.
So obviously a big project, got a lot of different things that, I think kind of stalled out a little bit just with, how are we gonna do it, and, how do we get FAA to fund it and coordinate that. What Chelsea and Casey and I will do for the next meeting, also that third piece, is, where are the alternatives that can go in. I know we've shared these figures in the past, but summarize the budget, summarize the location, different sizing alternatives, and different ways that we can build it. So we'll bring some more information for that next month.
Very good, thank you.
So the second part of the conversation is the vacation of a county road, and maybe I'll turn it over to Casey here to discuss a little bit. Just Chelsea shared last meeting that it's something that you wanted to consider, and we've been talking internally. We do have experience with this, and Casey, as an airport planner, can share her experience with it.
So I think, the FAA would have, really no issue if the county wanted to vacate that road and, that land kind of becomes part of the airport. I think a couple questions is it something that the county is looking to do, or is it where the county is looking to have the airport acquire and pay for that land? And I think the FAA's, as it comes to funding, I think that'll be an important, question to have answered. Obviously, if the county wants to vacate the road and just turn that land of the road over to the airport, that could happen at any time. That's not a big deal. If the county would like compensation for the land and the airport would be seeking funding from the FAA, the questions that the FAA are going to ask is, why do you need money for this now? And what they're going to want to see is, proof and the justification that you have private, or they would ultimately be private, but individuals, entities that would be ready to build a hangar at that time. They don't want to invest like speculative investment. That's kind of what they don't fund. So they would want to see that there is a demand to do that building area project today, if you want them to pay the funding for the road acquisition, let's say. So I think that's something to think about. The overall concept and idea, I don't think there would be any concern on any of the agency's, perspectives. I think it's all, a valid thing to consider and makes a lot of sense. I think it's just a question of funding and what's the demand and the need for, hangars, and specifically bigger hangars to be constructed. Because you can build the smaller ones without vacating the road and without acquiring more land. So the question that the FAA then asks is, show us the people that are going to come build these bigger hangars, and they're going to want to see that. So I guess I'll pause there for questions or thoughts.
Well, I know you have a waiting list of people who want hangars, correct?
Yeah, I believe I have.
And basically, we don't have any space unless we go that route. so.
But you said there is room for the regular sized hangars and put the bigger ones. We have to acquire more property.
So you're saying that without vacating that road, we could put hangars down there?
Yep, so when we did that building area study, we did include on your airport layout plan, a taxi lane that'll come off of, the taxiway here, to the south, and it would kind of parallel the taxi lane, and I don't know, Chelsea, if you'd be able to pull up the ALP building area sheet while we're chatting here. But a pretty significant line of hangars does fit there. They're all what the FAA calls Group 1, so that's how we categorize aircraft by their wingspan and how wide they are. So it would fit all of your kind of single engine aircraft. When you think of the smaller GA aircraft that are in most of your hangars over there, that's what those hangars are intended right now with the current design without needing to vacate the road. It's kind of those small single engine general aviation aircraft, kind of those 4 to 6 seat aircraft is what does fit over there with the current design.
Okay.
So would that be, when you say small, which, like, of our current hangar, which size would that?
I don't know, Chelsea, if you could pull like a comparison, let me look here on Google Earth. I would say most of your hangars over there are what this is designed for.
Okay.
Like the ones that face the crosswind runway, that whole row, it's really those size of hangars, if that's making sense. I think maybe Wagner's hangar is a little bit bigger.
Yep, and I do know the majority of the people on my wait list would like that size of a hangar, if not larger.
Okay.
Wagner size?
Yes.
And
actually-
basically Wagner size hangar is questionable whether it could go there, correct? Without vacating the road?
We can, yeah.
Yeah, I think for approximate measurements, the hangars that are shown there along County Road 108 are about 50 by 50. The wingspans would be about a 40-foot wingspan. The Pilatus, I think it's closer to 55, and that's the Wagner hangar. So I think that's an 80 by 80 hangar approximately. So that's kind of the size difference between the hangars.
And the Wagner size hangar does not fit in these locations.
Okay.
Both for size, type of aircraft, and height of the hangar. So it comes off the runway too, there's a protection space.
So then we would need to acquire the vacated property then for that, correct?
If there was justification
That's
for, yes.
So that's a size you want.
Yep. And it's one thing, I think, maybe to clarify between what people want and what people need. They would have to show an aircraft that would need the larger hangar. And I think that's the question FAA would ask, right?
Well, and I think the FAA, they're pretty savvy. They know what people are up to at airports. They're going to start asking, well, do they have the, because what they have seen is that you'll get somebody with that small single engine. They want the 80 by 80 because they have a camper and they have a boat.
They fill it up with all their other
And
stuff,
so
right?
it really has to be a true aviation need that it has to be bigger. And that's where, we need to gather that information to be able to share that with the FAA. One other kind of brewing challenge that we have, and this is recent, and I will say even the leadership in our local FAA office is still trying to figure out what this is all going to mean. But with, some of the, as administrations change, guidance changes on, various things. And one of the current things that is trickling down is that it is sounding like there will be challenges in the FAA when they fund a taxi lane, so that's kind of that taxiway that hangars are on, that only serves private hangars. It needs to have a public building on it, or a plan for a public building. So there have been some projects that this year in the state were not able to move forward because there's this new kind of rule coming down, and everyone's trying to figure out, well, what does it really mean, and what do you need on your plan to, work with that. So as the FAA is figuring out what that guidance means and what it doesn't mean, I think it'll just, for these types of like hangar development projects where you're building a taxi lane, it's just going to be a little bit slower here over the next couple of years as they're figuring that out, so. Just knowing that, I just wanted to point that out, that there's another little wrinkle that, you know, for something like this, that we're starting to see kind of brew on the regulatory side that we just have to work through.
Has there been any wetland studies in that area to make sure that we're not
Yeah.
impacting there or be affected by that?
Yeah, and I think there would be some wetland impacts, some of it we already impacted as part of the taxiway project, so.
That drain comes right out there through there from the airport, so.
So also, the city's been wanting to annex into the part of the airport into the city limits for the city sewer and water. If a person vacated that road, could we annex that into the city so they could get their water up to the truck route to the property across the road?
I mean, I don't know that that's anything that's in, I mean, I don't think the FAA has any, like it's not there, they don't care which municipality an airport is in.
Okay.
You know, what they do care about is that the sponsor of the airport always retains its rights and powers over what happens on the airport. So, you know, that's kind of a different thing, but,
Definitely some opportunities there. I'm sure we gotta do a little more homework, but, you know, if we're gonna try and get more hangars, and hangars gonna mean revenue, we gotta study a little bit more and find out, you know,
and if you.
is it gonna cost anything to vacate that road? I don't know,
Yeah.
you know.
And
If you
the-
just give it to the airport,
I mean, as a reminder too, there are 3 sites available today for hangars, you know, between, well, one, you know, is currently under the Inerson lease, so that one's a little different, but there are 2 other sites, you know, so the people that want the larger, you know, Wagner size hangar, you know, that is something to explore, is that they could,
over here.
you know, go over on your existing taxi lane. There is room for 2 hangars on the north side of that last taxi lane.
Well, thanks for that update.
Is there any action items you need from SEH? You know, if we share this information, you know, obviously it's probably conversations to have at your entities. You know, as we kind of look forward to, you know, this building area, you know, obviously only small hangars fit in that. There's the desire to move forward with a taxi lane for what we have now, which would be small hangars. We have the opportunity to like do small hangars and then in the future, larger hangars, you know, should the vacation happen. But is there anything you need for your conversations that SEH can help with, or propose next steps? You know, I think I guess we're standing by for you know, a little bit of direction on if you need something from us. You know, we can certainly help. But at this point, you know, it's as Casey outlined, I mean, there is a path that's just needs to kind of go through the necessary steps.
Anything you think of, Kyra?
No, I think we'll just do some work.
I think when we do that RFP, we should probably word it, you know, if they have any interest at all, what size are they looking for and what purpose, to give us a better idea. We're gonna have all little hangars, or we need some big hangars.
Yeah.
Find out what the interest is. And I think that RFP will help us with that decision.
Could we do another RFP for the smaller hangars? Just to see if what kind of interest there would be for? I mean, I have a wait list as of now, which we can contact to get more information from them, but, would it be worth putting out something?
I think you could. I think the one, you know, thing that's different about that development is I don't know that it's as shovel ready as the big hangar. And what you're going to ask people to respond with does take a meaningful amount of work for them to put together. So you don't want to have them put a bunch of work into something if you're not truly ready to move forward with it.
Yep.
You know, the other thing is that taxi lane development. I mean, that is a significant cost to build that. And that it might be a challenge to do that and a large hangar from a funding perspective. So something to think about. You know, doesn't mean you know, maybe one happens first and then the other follows, but at the same time, there might be limited funds to accomplish both concurrently.
Yeah. We'll see what happens with the RFP. Thanks, Casey.
Thank you.
We'll keep all items on the agenda and revisit next month and share any updates that we have, but hopefully that helps a little bit with the conversation.
Perfect.
Keep it in the forefront. Moving on to the electric gate, so we are commencing design throughout the winter, and this is to automate the gate by the Heinersons, correct? That's going to be the automatic gate, and then Chelsea actually just received correspondence from FAA saying that they may fund a second gate on the opposite side if we can get TSA recommendations. So we're going to work with Heinersons as well as TSA to get that approval to see if that's something. Obviously, automated gates are much more useful and reliable to make sure they're closed and help, helping kind of maintain that security. So I don't foresee any issues from TSA providing that justification, but we'll just kind of continue working with FAA and TSA on that.
Very good.
The next item we have is the big project for this upcoming 1 to 2 years, and that's the final phase of reconstruction of runway 1331. This is the southern 900 feet that hasn't been touched yet since 2005. The FAA has reviewed the scope. The airport commission went through a independent fee estimate as they evaluated SEH's proposal. Basically our design proposal for that is $616,000. And this includes geotechnical boring survey, FAA coordination, reimbursable agreement. So FAA owns not only the PAPI system, but the threshold lights. We have to work around all of that. But this will start the design process for bidding for next year. One interesting conversation that Kyra, I can't recall if you were on that call with Lindsay Terry about 2 weeks ago. The FAA actually has more money than they typically have, and the reasons for that are varied. But this plan for this upcoming cycle was to do design only, and then the following year is to do a construction grant. FAA indicated they may have funding to put it all into one, so it would be design and construction this year. I think this is just for awareness. We'll share what that means, but ideally it means a better funding rate, from FAA, and kind of moving the project up, guaranteeing that what they call discretionary funds, which is a competitive program. So just more certainty, which certainly helps. So FAA is obviously supportive of the project, and we're moving forward with that. But right now, it's just the design for your consideration to kind of keep that moving along. This would be eligible at 95% federally funded, 2.5% state funded. Moving forward.
And this is basically the last thing that we have to do to this airport, and we should be good for at least 20 years, right?
That is right. I think
That
this
we
is
talked about last meeting.
all runways, taxiways, and
Get her done and
Yeah.
be sitting good for a while. So what are the wishes on this? Is there a motion to move forward?
Let's get her done. Second.
Motion and a second. Any more discussion on it? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Gotta get that 900 feet done.
Yep. And
Now, they moving any, the ASOS or any of that, is that part of all that?
that is a MnDOT project, and it's maybe Chelsea, I'll lean on you on the AWAS, ASOS, the latest developments there. But I believe MnDOT is working through that kind of the initial stages, correct?
Yep, correct. So I think Thor's working with MnDOT on that one, and they, I think, are planning for construction next year to relocate that. The one project that we have in our AIP funded projects is to remove any obstructions that are in that obstruction area for the ASOS, the new ASOS location.
Okay, thank you. I know that ASOS has been a problem lately, so hopefully we get that resolved.
It's been a problem for a while.
Yeah.
The next item we have is the security camera upgrades. Maybe Chelsea, I'll lean on you for that one.
Yeah, so Brothers Fire and Security has ordered all of the parts for the terminal security camera upgrades and system. They are still waiting on a couple of things. They don't want to start impacting anything until they have all of the components. So they believe that they'll have everything within the next week or two, and then can start working in the terminal on getting those security cameras upgraded
Perfect.
and installed. And then Kerry Myers, I believe, is on the same path for the door parts. So he's looking into getting the door parts, and once he receives all of those, plan for the install of that.
Very good.
Thank you, Chelsea. Just a few minor other miscellaneous updates. The pickup truck and plow is ordered. I don't think we have a delivery date yet, but everything is ordered, so that's good news. And then CIP updates for 2026 that we haven't discussed. The last one is the beacon replacement project. So we'll be coming in September with a proposal to replace the beacon. Right now, I think you have to crawl up there and replace all of the parts. So it's older. The newer systems are tipped down, LED, much easier to maintain and efficient. So we'll come with that proposal in September.
Very good.
That's our updates. Casey, Chelsea, anything further?
Nothing to me.
Any questions for us?
No, thank you for everything. Appreciate it.
Happy to be here.
Moving on to old business. Entrance sign update. Thor's not here. I think he was pretty much working that. And what about the Bob Anderson ribbon cutting? We heard that?
Thor was working on that too, so
Okay.
we'll just wait till next meeting.
Well, we'll put that on hold till next month then. Into the new business. Airport consultant presentation discussion. Mayor Dale, did you want to talk about the path? Or what you're going to talk about have anything to do with part of that consultant presentation, or was?
I would be happy to. I just wanted to support the idea. I believe it was August 5th, the consultant that the city council, the county board had hired to study the ongoing operations of the airport, had made a recommendation that the airport commission take over the bookkeeping of the airport for both parties. And that's not a decision that I'm going to play a vote or a role in, but I would say that I think it's important. We study at the city level all kinds of different services, and I think it's important that if we're going to spend taxpayer dollars to do that, that we take their recommendations seriously. So that's why I had reached out to Kyra about getting on the agenda, which I appreciate you allowing me on the agenda to talk about at least part of what happened, and the study's public and we all have it. So that was what I wanted to speak to.
Okay. As city reps, anything that you want to say about that, or?
We haven't had any discussion on the council level at all about this report yet. We all are aware of it. We all were.
We're aware of it,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
yeah,
I was
no
not
discussion.
present at the time, but I was on Zoom to take it in also. So, but no discussion has been done at either level, either a committee of the whole or the board. So I'm sure that we'll get it on the agenda here probably.
Okay.
Get on the committee of the whole.
That sounds like it's one of the higher priority items. I'm assuming, right, that council will have to
Well,
make that decision.
the county had it on there yesterday. What happened there?
For ours,
Yeah.
we had, Kyra, did Adam send you that paper? I mean, there was a airport consultant recommendations. We just went through the thing from basically 1 to 15 on what they were doing, and I believe Adam sent it to you, did
I
he?
just pulled it up now, yep. Do you want me to print it?
Can you print it?
Yep, I'll go print a couple of copies.
Make it easier if we could look off a piece of paper instead of a cell phone. It was just on the thing there on our paperwork. It just was amend and restate joint powers agreements on a timeline that we want to get that done. Establish rental car services. See if we can get more rental car businesses in here for. He just went basically down the list that they recommended from the
Study.
The study?
study. Yes,
Report, yeah.
to see what we could do to help bring in revenue to the airport.
Right. Well, I think we need to come to some kind of agreement on prioritizing, those recommendations. Which ones we, take the low-hanging fruit, the easy ones, and work them, and, certainly to redo the joint powers agreement and some of the other ones that require probably some legal action. But I think there are some things that we could deal with right away.
I think at our budget meeting yesterday was Thor and Kyra presented, and I think if I caught it right, Thor has already confronted the security system, the security people about
Yeah.
probably being.
Yeah, you mentioned it, yeah.
They're probably going to be terminated at the end of the year. That's as far as it got. What Thor gave us report.
As far as
the council's never done
the security one.
Mm-hmm.
The one that he said that could.
Thank you.
We don't-
60,000.
We'd say 60,000.
60,000. Yeah.
And that seemed to be probably the lowest hanging fruit right there,
Right.
based on
Yeah.
the consultants.
Yeah.
And I know I did some homework on that. I talked to my boss, and then my boss's boss, and my boss's boss's boss were here. So I had a lengthy conversation with them to find out, hey, you guys are, over all these airports in the whole north central region. And I asked them, are any of the other airports that you go to, do they have an armed security guard there? And they said, not one.
Not one.
Not one in our whole region do
Yeah.
they have it.
Yeah.
So what do? Call 911. You just have a normal response time from either your police department or sheriff's department. So I don't know, what the wishes are. I mean,
I
certainly.
mean, if that's working and you're following what all the rest of them do,
Right.
I could see,
Yeah.
It's not
I
required.
mean,
right, that it's not required. I could,
it's not required. The rules have changed
Right.
supposedly.
yeah,
So that it's not.
right.
So on that paper that Kyra just handed out, there's like a target completion date, and this was done by Bolton and Mink, basically. Like the amendment joint powers, they'd like to see done by the 10th of February of 27. The car rental thing for 26 January. Implement fuel flowage fee as soon as possible. If we could take and add something on that, I believe we had talked about that before here.
Right. That's
Just
seems
bring in
like
general
a
revenue.
no-brainer that,
Yep.
and he said, if you go over what I thought, he said like around 10 cents
Yep.
a gallon would be a good starting point for us to do that. So,
That's just going through the talking points that they had presented to all of us on that board, to see what we can get implemented as soon as possible.
Sure.
Basically.
If I can make one note on here.
Yep.
In terms of number 6, the SkyWest state marketing funds.
Yes.
That is not in the budget, and I don't plan to put that in the budget, only because of the fact is I don't see any bills for that. There's nothing that comes through the commission regarding those SkyWest marketing funds.
Okay.
It is strictly between SkyWest and the consultant who creates all of the marketing ads and does all the marketing. So SkyWest pays them directly. I don't see
See
anything.
any of that? Okay.
So that I have kept out of the budget for that fact, just because there's nothing that flows through the commission for that.
Was that the $25,000 that was
Correct.
mentioned? Okay.
And that is in the EAS contract for those marketing funds, and that's what SkyWest does to market our
So
airport.
that doesn't even come to us, that just automatically gets paid out through them.
Correct.
Perfect.
The only thing I do with it is approve the ads that the consulting company puts together, and I give them access to the website and our Facebook pages and whatnot to create all those marketing pieces. But they do it all, so,
They pay for it all.
correct.
Okay.
Perfect. Thank you.
Clear that up.
So what are the wishes so far as any of this? I mean, the fuel flowage fee, Kyra, is that something that you would basically work out with Thor and how that works? Because, you know, basically it's going to be that every gallon that he pumps, whatever the price is now, is going to add
10 cents,
whatever
9
we
cents,
agreed to,
whatever.
9 cents to that.
Yeah.
And we would see how many gallons he pumps, and we'd get paid that 9 cents, correct?
Mhm.
So it's a matter of working out some kind of agreement, I would assume. So I don't know what the board thinks, is that one thing we want? her to
Yeah,
start
that's a
working
revenue.
on right away?
Yeah.
Start generating that revenue
Yep.
right away.
Right.
And I would think the security contract, I'm pretty sure most of you are in agreement that we don't need that,
Right.
but there's an out clause for that, I would assume, but, you know, it's where we're at in the year, it's already budgeted. My recommendation would be that we serve them notice that we're gonna terminate that contract the first of the year.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah.
That would be the only
You
fair way
know,
of doing
to
it.
be fair to them.
Yeah. No.
Because he's
you're
hired a
right.
couple
Yeah.
employees, that one younger gentleman
Right.
that he's got working for him
Right.
here, so
Yeah.
that gives him a few months to try finding a
Right.
different job.
Right.
Sure. That makes
Right.
sense. Yeah.
Right, and I'm, you know, I'll talk to Brian and Matt, TSA, to let them know that it's gonna happen. I've already kinda gave them a heads up, you know,
Okay.
because they're gonna have to know that if they have an issue in there, that you know,
Right.
they don't have this guy anymore, you're gonna have to call
Yeah.
911.
Right.
And everything else on here, I think was just a matter between the city and the county and working with, you know, your entities, start working on these other ones. But I would think that each side would, you know, would try and prioritize, you know, which ones we're gonna, you know,
As I
tackle
say,
first.
we haven't had any discussion at any meetings yet, so I don't want to speak for the city. So, but
No.
it's
This is a good
Yeah.
starting point
Yeah.
to look at
Yeah.
and go from, and so that
See-
you can, as a committee of the whole, sit down
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
say,
Yeah. Yeah.
you know, what do we want to tackle first?
Yeah.
And here they have down here on number 14, shift financial agent to the commission, or to the commission, basically about the same time that we get the joint power stuff done, is from what it, you know,
Right, yeah,
That piece is gonna take a long time to
Yeah.
convert over, just because of all the legality things of getting bank accounts, changing the EIN number, and getting new SAM numbers, and, you know, updating all of that is gonna take a lot of time.
yep.
right.
And that step, maybe if I could add, there is an important FAA process involved in, because you're essentially changing the sponsor. If you're changing the fiscal agent, you're changing, you know, in their eyes, kind of the sponsor owner of the airport, and there's a lengthy process with that agency to work through that. I think St. Cloud did it recently, and it was a couple year long process. But other states, or other airports in the state have done it, so.
Well,
we'll have some
there's a lot
good
to it.
recommendations,
you know,
lessons
especially-
learned.
Especially
Yeah.
when it's dealing with financials, you want to make sure it's done right, and you got all the safeguards in place, so.
And a big thing that's gonna affect it too is the joint powers agreement. It's
Sure.
gonna be changed dramatically, I'm sure, with
Right.
them having that, so
Yeah.
it's a good thing that they're looking at it here, you guys are looking at it as, at the same time, work on both of them, and that's,
Yep.
like I said, I don't know where we'll go for sure, but we'll be discussing.
Okay.
Thank you.
Any more discussion on any of this? And we'll just keep moving forward. I'm excited because I think there's some great opportunities.
Yeah.
We'll need a motion if we're going to, not go forward with the contract for security, to write a letter to him of notice.
Okay.
And also to start that fuel flowage, for the fuel flowage stuff, so
Okay. One motion or two motions?
let's do two just to be safe.
Okay, let's do the fuel foliage. All in favor? Do I have a motion? We got a motion.
Motion.
And a second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, we're gonna move forward with fuel flowage. Now to security contract.
I'll make the motion on that.
A motion to eliminate the
Till the-
contract effective.
The first of the year.
First of the year.
Yeah.
And a second.
A second.
And a second. Any more discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Yeah. Did you have anything else, Mayor Dill, that you wanted to talk about?
No, not at this time.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
And number 326, draft airport budget, Kyra.
There is a draft budget in the packet, and as well as I put a budget narrative in there, just kind of explaining the budget. Yesterday, Thor and I met with the city and presented this information. There's not really any changes from the budget that I provided last month. However, I did nail down the amount that's left on the ARPA grant. And so with that amount adding in to the budget, there is a $0 amount contribution that will be from the city and the county due to the ARPA funds supplementing that cost. And the total budget amount for the year is $878,000. And that is for the maintenance and operation piece of things. Getting into the capital piece, the major capital items, the total budget amount for major capital projects next year is $7,240,000, with a total local share of $181,000, which would be a split cost of $90,500 from each, the city and the county. The majority of the projects on there, again, are kind of required by FAA for the security gate and some of that stuff. And then the transient hangar design on there for, which would be a revenue source. For the annual capital, that is the standard $25,000 per year, or $25,000 per city and the county each year. There are no equipment purchases that are planned for 2026, so that $25,000 each would just be set aside for future projects. However, I did make note to the city and the county, or excuse me, to the city that due to budget constraints and things like that, we could potentially eliminate that $25,000 for this year and see, you know, where things are at going forward for next year, just because there's no equipment purchases that are planned. So if we eliminate that, then the total budget amount asked for the city and the county would be that $90,500 for the year for 2026.
Not too bad.
No. Very
That
good.
was all considering what we're getting for it.
Right.
Good working that out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thanks, Kara.
Yeah.
Do we need the motion approval? Is there a motion to approve the 26 budget?
I'll approve.
Is there a second?
Second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Secretaries of report.
I don't really have anything, other than employments are in the packets. We were down again last month a little bit, but employment seems to be holding strong, so.
That have anything to do with us getting a smaller seated plane?
I don't know what the cause of it is, if it's that or the time schedules is probably more my guess that.
I mean, our planes are leaving here and they're 90% of them are full. There's 48 to 50 people on almost every plane that leaves here, so.
Then I would probably contribute it to the size or the
Of the
number of
plane.
seats.
Yeah.
Plus we have 15 flights a week right now.
Yep.
From our normal 12.
Yep.
So we picked up 3 more flights and picking up that many more people.
Nice.
Plus we have 3 Sun Country flights scheduled, one in September, one in October, and one in November. So, and those are usually 150 to 180 people. So,
Normally they're full.
yeah.
Nice.
Any other business? Next meeting?
Remember.
I'm trying to get that burnt into my head. What do you got, Kara? What,
The 24th,
24?
Wednesday the 24th?
I can't make that one. I got a doctor's appointment.
I got a dental appointment.
do you want to move it to Thursday?
Huh?
Do you want to move it to Thursday?
It's fine.
Thursday, I gotta have a hospital board meeting on Thursday.
Tuesday? No.
Well,
Sewer board.
if-
Or sewer board.
If
That's
I have to, I'll
super,
just reschedule my dental appointment. That's all.
You're
So
another
I-
6
so I
months
can,
out.
I can do the 24th.
Problem with that is then you're 6 months out.
I got
On your
one
dental.
I have one on the 9th of September. I gotta tell them I gotta switch 2. So I got 2 appointments I gotta change. So.
No.
No, I can't switch mine.
But I'm okay with the 24th. I'll call and change both my dental appointments today.
I've done that
But you got a
before.
doctor's
I've
appointment.
had a doctor's appointment. I gotta change that.
But that's all right.
I've done the dental thing before.
Yeah.
Canceled that.
Yeah. All right. Well, shoot, 24th then.
Yeah.
All right. There's no other business. I'll adjourn the meeting at 9:07.